we're like on the inside of the ribs of the plane. Definitely not on the outside of the plane. We're not Tom Cruising it.
Oh man. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Okay, so
not doing
we're
stunts
on
or
the
anything.
we're on the inside of the lining of
just a
the outer
tidbit of a
border.
story
Yeah,
is really all that was.
yeah.
But it was interesting. That's all I was getting to.
No,
is
I
it was
bet that's
interesting
different.
doing
That's
that.
different. Yeah, I bet that's different.
Which it's so weird because later on in life, after got married, had kids, I had this weird fear of flying come about that I had to battle. But anyways, so I'd go to California and I would see my family. That was the greatest part of my year, just about. My mom is one of 7 siblings, and so I've got lots and lots of cousins, and they're amazing. And this is on my mom's side of the family. And every once in a while, I get to see my dad's side of the family that lived in Texas. But it was mostly I'd go to the U.S. to see my mom's side of the family and my grandma and my grandpa out there. And one time that I don't know if it was I think it was during the summer, we flew to California and my dad went. And that was like a big deal because he didn't really like going to see that side of the family. I don't know if it was explained to me what we were doing, but so one of the weird things about growing up with stepdad is that he's got a different last name than you, but your mom has the same last name as him. Mm. So you're like the odd one out every time roll call comes up in school, and that's like the most important thing to you. And so we this particular summer we ended up going to the city in California, and I was like, what? I've never even like been into these buildings before. So we get to this building, we go up a gajillion, seemed like up into the sky in this big business building, and we get to the little area where you're in a waiting room or whatever, and there's coffee and donuts and stuff, and I'm like, what in the heck are we doing? I'm 8 years old. And so up until this point, my name was Richard Paul Harrison. But all people ever knew me by was my name, Paul. And everybody assumed that my last name was Pierce. But it was really Richard Paul Harrison Jr. So we get to this business and, yada, yada, yada. And my dad tells me, Paul, I'm going to legally adopt you. And that was a really big moment for me because me and my stepdad have really been kind of butting heads, not getting along very well. The more and more he got, busy with work, and he was going through some personal things and, relationship stuff with my mom. And this was just kind of like a big positive moment amongst all of this crud, and, just life. And he's like, hey, I'd like to adopt you as my legal son so that you've always been my son. But I want other people to know that you're my son, and there would be no shadow of a doubt that you are my son.
Man.
And this was a really big deal for me because it just it made a big mark in my life. And this next part's really weird, but so when you're legally adopting someone, you can change their whole name. So you're basically rewriting your birth documents. And my dad was like, hey, you can change your name to whatever you want it to be. And I was like, huh? He's like, what name do you like? And I was like, man, I've always wanted to be called Christian. And he's like, I don't know where that name came from. And, you know, like I said, my name was Richard Paul Harrison, right? And I was like, yeah, well, obviously I want to be called Paul. And he's like, yeah, of course. And he's like, but what do you want your first name to be? And I was like, And then we came up on the name Christopher. And so basically I was changing my whole name.
Yeah. It's pretty big.
And except for Paul, you know. And so anyway, 8 years old, have the chance to change my name to whatever the heck I want it to be. I probably, you know, that my parents approved, you know. And so we came upon the name Christian or Christopher. And I was like, you know what, let's go with Christopher. So after that day, I was known as Christopher Paul Pierce. And my birth certificate is changed. My everything is changed. All of my documents are done.
Yeah.
Done with that old name.
Just like that.
And there's a lot to this. There's a lot going on in this story that I'm not talking about. But
yeah, I was gonna say we'll
but we'll leave it there. But
Yes.
this was a really big deal, and that was when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And so my stepdad legally adopts me in 95. Really big deal. And then right after that, my brother's about to be born. And also we get stationed to Texas, of all places.
Wow.
So we end up moving from Okinawa, Japan to Abilene, Texas, of all places, the biggest little town in Texas. And wow, what a huge culture shock that was. I had never really met a honky before. My grandpa was from Paris, Texas.
Okay.
And so that was his style of cowboy was a lot different than what I found in Abilene. So I was just like, whoa, what? But we moved to Dyess Air Force Base my dad was working at Dyess Air Force Base there in Abilene after we moved to Abilene, and we found a place.
How old are you at this time? When was this? You said
So I was 8.
8. Okay.
Yep. And there we stayed. I forget how many years he continued to be in the military, but at some point he got out of the military there, and decided to go, whatever you call it, private sector or whatever, and got a job in working for a printer company, big time commercial printer company.
Nice.
And it was definitely once again kind of a culture shock, having to uproot and find some new friends and stuff. And obviously ended up finding some new friends. Had our first house as a family in the United States. That was our house. Our house, not like a government building type thing.
Yeah.
And still go visit it every time that we go to Abilene, which is like, hey, that was my house. And then we actually moved into another house that was a little bit bigger, a little bit better, in a nice neighborhood, newer neighborhood there. And all the while we went to church. I'm forgetting to say this, but since I was born, I was basically kind of like raised in the church, like going with my grandma, going with my mom. My mom and dad always went to church every single Sunday, just about. It was just kind of like, kind of a religious thing of like going. But I, at a very young age, this is a really big deal too. When I was the age of, I think I was 8, I decided to accept the Lord as my Savior and basically become a Christian. And I was baptized then. And this is around about when I was adopted. I think it was before. I don't know, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. And it was a really big deal to my family and to me, and kind of like set the... if I had a path, that was kind of like setting the path to like, figure things out with, a set of instructions, I guess, and kind of becoming a part of a group. it's like getting a cultural group hug, you know, like, oh, okay. You know what? See, now you get to know, now you get to see what we're talking about. And, that was true. But, anyways, so we moved to Abilene, get established, move into our second house. And then, in 99, I loved living in Abilene, by the way. It's really hard to make friends at first, you know, as it is when you uproot from anywhere, especially when you're around kids that have grown around each other, you know, for their whole lives.
Oh, yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
But definitely had some good memories there, going to finishing elementary school and doing middle school, some of middle school and junior high or whatever it was. And then in 99, we moved to Flower Mound, Texas.
Uh-oh.
So Flower Mound, if you guys don't know, is kind of like the epitome of suburbia. You know, middle to higher end incomes usually out there. And Flower Mound is kind of on the border of Louisville, and Louisville is kind of like the old Flower Mound, I guess, where it's like, you know, the first, you know, major north of Dallas City that just grew and grew and grew and grew. And back in the 70s, a company named Pulte built a lot of houses out there and went through and built houses into Flower Mound, what would later become Flower Mound. And, you know, it grew so fast that everything is all under the same school district.
Yeah.
From Flower Mound to Louisville and I think even Double Oak and Argyle, they all go to LISD schools.
LISD, yeah.
Anyhow, so coming from Abilene, moving to a place called Flower Mound, I was like, oh my gosh, am I moving to San Francisco or something? What's a Flower Mound? What is this place?
Oh my goodness.
And so I was kind of embarrassed to tell people.
The Mound.
Yeah. Little did I know it was cool, you know,
Yeah.
Anyways, so that's up until the last little bit of the 90s for me.
Yeah. I bet that going from Abilene to Flower Mound, that's a pretty big jump, man. Pretty big jump. But you had some pretty big jumps just Japan to Abilene getting adopted, you know, then coming to Flower Mound. That's some pretty big stuff, man. Pretty big stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to ask this just one question. When you were going through the process with changing your name, once that process happened, was there something that you were longing for that you didn't know that you wanted that you got once that name change happened? Or was it just like a seamless transition to where, hey, this is how it's been, we made this change, but it's just still the main thing is the main thing? Or was it not as gratifying? What was that moment, you know, once that happened for you?
Well, I mean, as a kid, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know legal adoption was a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the difference was. I thought I was already, like, I just thought I was going to be Richard Paul Harrison for the rest of my life. And it didn't really matter to me that my last name wasn't different unless it was like literally like school roll call. And it was like, oh, you're a Harrison. It's like, well, my parents are the Pierce family. Oh,
A lot of
okay,
explanations.
you're the one.
A lot of explanations.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, to me as a kid, I didn't know how big of a deal it was going to be, but to me it was a big deal that my dad wanted to legally adopt me. And, that was really awesome. And I actually did feel kind of a different but similar feeling when later on in the story, when I meet my biological dad for the first time that I could remember. And it's kind of like coming full circle type thing.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
But it
So
was a good. It was a. I mean,
was a good
that
feeling.
moment was a good feeling. For
Very
you.
good feeling.
Yeah, yeah. That's good. That's good, man. So for me, I'll pick up where I left off. You know, that late '90s. So going into middle school, I went to. So where I lived on technically the south side of Monroe, but on the south side, the street where I lived on was going to the school that was on the east side. I'm not trying to explain this, but
Districts.
Jefferson, Carroll, y'all, and being that people will understand what I'm talking about. Wiseman, Carroll, you understand where where you are on Oregon Trail. Technically, you should, but you don't. But
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I was going to the feeder school that was on the south side, Jefferson, and I had a situation there where, so I'm Ronaldo, and there was another Ronaldo that was at the school.
What?
Yeah, all right, crazy. But I'm the real Ronaldo. That wasn't the real. No disrespect. I have a Y. I have a Y in my name, R-E-Y, and he was R-E-N. For some reason, we just butted heads. We both were in choir, but we just butted heads. He was friends with these two guys that my cousins and I we got into a fight with, and it was just a whole deal. So one day, for some reason, we get in class, and they were like, "Oh, he wrote his name in the chair. He wrote his name in permanent marker." So I'm looking like, who are they talking about? So it's like, oh, it says Ronaldo. So they wrote Ronaldo Pine on the chair, but they spelled it like they spelled his name.
Oh,
Not like mine. It's not mine. But I'm
yeah.
like, that's, I didn't do that. I've
Obviously,
been
that
in
wasn't
class.
me.
Like, that's not my handwriting. But
Yeah.
the teacher was like, oh, that's yours. Go to the office. And I'm like, no, like, this is crazy. Like, I'm not doing this. So it turned to this whole deal. And we were already at the point where we were thinking about going to another school. So myself and my cousin, we told my mom and my aunt, and they were like, you know what? We're just going to send y'all to Carroll. Y'all going to Carroll. So we end up moving middle schools, and we're going to Carroll Junior High School. First day there, everybody want to fight us because we coming from a rival school. But we had a cousin who was already there who knew we were coming. So we linked up with him. Everything was fine. Then there was one other guy who just wanted to fight. And the principal found out, and he was like, hey, if this guy wants to fight y'all can knock him out. I'm giving you the go ahead to go. So Mr. Jones was like, hey, you can. He a troublemaker, whatever. So we already know. So we're going to Carroll Junior at this time, and my grandfather is the music teacher at Carroll Junior and Carroll High School. So I get to see my granddad every day, which is pretty cool. So so I'm singing in choir with my granddad, and just we go to tournaments here, and choir tournaments here, and getting Superior and doing all this stuff. So learning about music and just loving music, pretty big. And as you said, with church, we were heavily involved in church. My grandfather was the minister of music at the church we attended. I played the drums, so we were at church all the time. All the times, choir rehearsal, somebody meeting, somebody this. We were in the church. We would go to the after school program at church. We were heavily involved in church.
That's awesome.
But it was good. It was good for us, man. We had some really good people who were in that church who poured into us and still do to this day. And we're very grateful for all of them. But you go through middle school, and you get into the late 90s, and like you said, we're getting into 99. And, my mom was at a point to where she was like, she just wanted to change. She wanted something different for us. I was about to go into high school, and she talked to my sister and I, and we had been coming to Texas. I have a aunt that lives in Arlington. She lived in Arlington for a while, and we would come visit her. And and we would stay with her for a couple of weeks, just like on a vacation. And my mom was like, "Hey, I think I want to move us to Texas, just to get away from this and just make
That's
the move."
a big restart.
So I was like, "Wow, man!" I was like, "That's pretty big." So it was, she boiled it down to Arlington and Louisville. So we chose Louisville. And we come here
Good
to
for y'all.
Louisville, and great for us, man. But we come here to Louisville, and it's a culture shock, baby.
Oh yeah.
So Monroe, where I'm from, predominantly black. The only time I had interactions with anyone, Caucasian, white, were either teachers or the few principals in the middle school. That was it. It wasn't like white friends or white friends' parents or people at church. None of that.
Really?
So the first time I was really having conversations with anybody who wasn't black, either black, Hispanic, and black, white, or Hispanic, that was when we moved here to Louisville. That was 1999 going into 2000. Hard left, but Y2K. You remember going into 2000?
Oh my
Y2K
gosh,
and that whole
yes.
deal that was going on?
Yeah.
When we thought the world was about to
We
end
thought the
in
world
2000.
was gonna end,
Like the
y'all.
world was supposed to end in 2000. So we made this move to Texas. Now I'm about to die and I don't even know what's going on in the world.
So
It was
we
a-
both ended up
Oh
moving
my
to
goodness.
like here. Well,
In the same area.
in the same
Yeah.
area, in the same time, same vicinity of
Yeah.
time.
Had no idea of who he was or what was going on, but we were getting culture shocks at the same time, which is
How
kind of
crazy
crazy,
is
right?
that?
So
It is crazy.
So I'm going into high school years, and so this is 90s, end of 90s, going into 2000s, and I played a little football, but I really wasn't trying. I was a decent student, but I did not push myself. I wasn't trying. I could skate by, just reading a little bit here or there. I was a class clown. I was trying to get these jokes off at all times. I'm getting these jokes off, and I'm running up behind these young ladies at that time. All right, so I didn't care too much about football in school. I was in choir, but I passed and I did okay in school. Still was in that anger mode. So I still had a lot of anger in me, man, a lot of anger. And that was just unresolved anger with, the whole situations with the dad. And it was just a lot of anger, man. And at that time, my group of friends and everybody, that was kind of the way we had to be. It was just, you hard, you trying to do this and do that, and show how masculine you are, and we spoke in a way that we words that we can't say anymore, but we spoke in a way and did things, and had fights and things like that. That was just the way things were at that time, just not
man.
knowing any better,
Yeah.
just being young and dumb.
And a male.
Pretty much, man. That was it. Just that testosterone, man. That stuff is
That
real.
stuff is
That's
strong.
strong. And I didn't have, and unfortunately at that time, I just didn't have, a male figure that I could go to and get the things that I needed or talk about the things I needed. I had my grandfather and my uncles and my great uncles, but these old men, like I don't want to talk to these guys about some of the things that I'm feeling and the things that I'm going through. And so it was those were tough times. So I went down roads and paths that I probably should not have gone down, but I'm thankful I, experienced those tough times and did those things and bumped my head and,
Sometimes
came out
you
of
just
those
gotta
things.
learn things the hard
Sometimes
way.
you got to learn things the hard way. And one of those hard things that I learned while I was, so this is early 2000s, 2002, 2003-ish. So this is my junior year, summer junior year, going into senior year. I remember I started working at Kroger, and then I left Kroger and went to Main Event, and I was working at Main Event. So I always had a job. I loved working at an early age. And while I was at Main Event, you worked with older 20-year-olds. I mean, so you got your 20-year-olds, and it's a mix of everybody. So I was always a bigger, taller guy, always a little more mature for my age. So I was always friends with people who were a little older than me. So I
was always a ladies' man.
I said people, men and women. I'm not doing that. We're not doing that.
Oh, no.
I was able to. I always had the adult beverages at all times. I was the guy who had the extra bag full of all the goodies.
Dang.
All right. So unfortunately, dumb me did something. Going into senior year, I took some adult beverages with me to partake with the friends. Met up with some boys from Highland Park. When we went to this big student council deal, they had a whole mini fridge full of stuff. I had my stuff. We just partied for 3 days, right? So
Wow.
one of the days, I think it was the third or fourth day, I'm just talking real wild in a group of us. And one of the chaperones she was, she fit in the group, and I didn't see her in the group. So while I was just talking wild, she heard some of the things that I was saying and some of the things that we were going to be doing.
Oh, Lord.
And who we were inviting, right? So next day, wake up, and they're like, hey, we heard that y'all have some adult beverages. Y'all better get them out of here, or, it's going to be some problems. So everybody go back to your rooms, get rid of whatever. So me, being the smart guy that I am, I had Gatorade Ice. Gatorade Ice is the clear Gatorade. So I was like, I'm just going to put my stuff in the Gatorade Ice and just, put it over here, mix it with that. They're not going to know. They don't know it's me. Okay. So about an hour later, they're like, hey, we need to see you. So I'm like, what's up? So they were like, what's going on. We found it, blah, blah. So I get kicked out of the camp.
No.
Have to go home. So I can say this now. So one of the chaperones there, great woman, Elmu, she was like, they got to call your mom, right? So she's like, they're going to call your mom. So one of the campus police came in, and he was like, so do you want us to call your mom and let her know, or do you want to go to jail? I said, man, y'all could just go ahead and take me to jail. I'm fine with that. That's cool. And I was dead.
No way.
I said, no, just go ahead. If I could just go, I'll just go to jail. And he was like,
I'd rather
what?
my mom not ever
I said,
know about
yeah,
this.
If it's tell her and go home, or don't tell her and I could just go to jail right now and just sit it out, send me to jail right now. Like, that's easy. Let's go. Put me in the jail.
He was afraid of that whooping.
So they were like, oh, no, we're going to call your mom. I said, well, why would you even give me
Don't give me the choice.
Why? So they had to call her at her job.
Oh, my gosh.
So they telling her what's going on. She get on the phone with me, chew me out good. So I have to come home. So I get home and blah, 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 blah. So I'm kicked out of school the first 9 weeks. So I had to go to the alternative school, the real deal. And so not the small one here, but the one at Denton County at the county. Oh yeah, brother. So
So what year were you?
I'm going into my senior year. So this
Senior of high
this
school.
is 2004. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm, you push ups, sit ups, pull ups, running. It's full fatigues. I mean, it's real. You got to shine your boots every day. But I go home every night. You go home,
Yeah.
But you're there from 7 a.m. until like 3 or 4. So, and it's all just, but I was able to double up on like all of my classes. So when I got there, I was like, oh, okay. So can I just, they're like, oh, you can take as many classes as you would like. Bet.
Done.
So I doubled up on all of my classes so I can, pretty much just knock out as much as I could while I was there. And got back to school. And once I got back to school, it had to be December, somewhere around December, going into somewhere around there. I couldn't attend. Well, during that time, I couldn't attend any functions for school or anything, so I missed out on a lot of things.
That's rough.
But I got back just in time for homecoming and a couple other things. I couldn't be in student council anymore. They're like, no, you can't be associated. So it was
limits.
so I couldn't do anything. All of my teachers, kind of looked at me,
Like you're a
in a
troublemaker.
bad, like I'm this troublemaker, this bad person. Except one teacher. There was one teacher. I was angry because I was like, y'all don't even know me. I made this one mistake, but like I'm actually a decent person, but y'all treating me like trash.
Yeah.
One teacher, Miss McClaskey, changed my life. She was my English 4 teacher, and beautiful woman, Christian woman, but she would wear like some of the most eccentric, just wild things. Like I'm talking about like with feathers and but it was like always respectful and like it was, full dresses and like, I mean, she wasn't revealing anything, but it was like
interesting.
very interesting.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Like colors popping, boots, different type of hats and just like, so she was just like a very free loving person. Right.
Yeah.
And this was every day. So when I walked in her class and I was like, hi, I'm Ronaldo. And she was like, oh, hey, glad to have you here. Welcome. And she knew everything, but she just led with positivity. And
Wow.
that just upcharged me, man. Like I went in her class every day, just happy, full of energy. And I thank you for just being who you were, because you changed me. You changed my outlook on so much. And I really, really appreciate you for doing that. So that was a huge pivotal moment in my life at that time. So able to graduate on time. So graduated. But like I said, I got those jokes off. So I was, what was it? Most humorous or whatever. So and then I was on the homecoming court and stuff.
Dang.
So I mean, so we had a nice ending. So it was a nice little ending. And
Nice.
so that's 2004ish, and I'm working at an old folks home. They call it assistant living home. I'm working in the kitchen there. This is junior senior year, and I'm not sure what I want to do, with my life after high school.
Yeah.
And so my mom, she worked at Verizon Wireless, and so she was like, I can get you
Really?
a job at Verizon if you want. And so I was like, all right. So I went and applied, and got a job as a customer service support to work out in Frisco. And so yeah, I did that 2004 and 2005, and stayed there for a good little while. But yeah, it was during that time when just going and coming into your manhood and learning about 401ks, and I started that real early. Actually, I started a 401k real early. I worked at one location for about a year or so, and then I transferred to a location in Irving. And during that transfer, I met my best friend, who was another person who came into my life right when I needed them too. And he is my brother. I don't care. But we lived together for a few years. And, at that time, I'm young and dumb, and I'm just spending money, and I'm trying to pop bottles and be this guy who I'm not. And
You're showing out.
just showing out. I'm showing myself, and he's like, man, I just got this awesome shirt for $8 on clearance that I've been looking at, and I'm like, what? But I was able to. He taught me a lot about managing my money, credit cards, how to do things, and I love him to death. He's my children's godfather, and just he saved my life. At a very, very tough. I was in a very, very tough moment, and he saved my life, man. And I'm very, very thankful that he's been as instrumental in my life. So that's somebody who I I say like in the tree of trust. Snelly, you know, I love you. I love you, love you, love you. And I appreciate you. And I'm so thankful that you came into my life when you did. And I just need you to know that you are so appreciated, man. You're appreciated. And I love you much. So, and just, you know, like I said, that's the, you know, early 2000s, just coming of age, man, just, you know, trying to figure myself out as a man. And, you know, as those 80s babies, we're getting older and getting into our 20s. And so we're able to see the world and kind of figure out that, you know, we don't have to be, you know, who our parents were, who our grandparents were, and we can kind of, you know, form our own paths and things like that. So that's my, you know, early 2000s.
Okay, cool. So we're at about where you graduated.
Graduated high school and started working at Verizon. Yeah, and
stuff.
trying to figure out myself. Yeah.
So, after I moved to Flower Mound, once again uprooted, you know, put back down into a spot that was very different. Like I said, the kind of, I don't know, so in every aspect of life, there's something that somebody can hold over your head, right?
Oh boy.
And so, whether, we talk about a lot of things that are, you know, we're going to be talking about a lot of different topics that are different from our different, you know, racial or color, you know, lenses. But, really, there's all kinds of things. And one thing is, you know, moving to a place where, you know, all of your friends have older friends than you. You know, they've been friends longer, known people much longer than you, and maybe even, you know, spent their whole life knowing somebody. You know, that's a really big deal. It's cool. It's cool to know somebody your whole life, right? I have one friend, April, and hopefully she gets to watch this. I've known her since I was pretty much born. And our families have known each other for a long time, but she's one of the only friends that I've known for that long. Literally, probably the only one. And, I moved to Flower Mound, and all these people have known each other for a really long time. And, you know, being the new odd one out, you know, the new guy or whatever, newcomer, that's kind of difficult sometimes. It was the hardest for me. This move was hard, really hard on me. It was difficult to make friends. The friends that I had in my neighborhood, you know, when you're a kid, you like go out and try to find neighborhood kids to go play with and, you know, whatever. You know, when I moved, I was 13. So I was like pre-teeny, you know, kind of trying to find my own way, you know, feeling a little bit more independent than I really was and stuff like that. And so, I was getting into skateboarding and, I wanted to do all kinds of cool stuff. I was listening to rock music. And also was very, something else that I kind of neglected is that, from the get-go, my family was very, adamant about, being able to appreciate music. And, you know, take part in it. My grandma was very big on like, if you have a voice, you know, use it, you know, show us your beautiful voice, show us your talent, whatever talent you have, you know, any kind of thing you could do in music. At her house, she had a stand-up piano, and, she would always encourage us, grandkids to learn the keys and how to read music. And, I never ended up learning how to read music until I was like much older. Actually, about this time in my life, I was in what do you call it? I think they call it middle school. To the school that I went to school there in Flower Mound, and I was playing the trombone because that's what my dad played. He's like, yeah, learn that, and so I definitely wanted to be like my dad.
For sure, yeah.
Anyways. I had a passion for singing, and I had a passion for the drums, but I didn't want to sing in front of anybody, and I didn't have a drum set. So that was the next best thing. My dad was like, heck yeah, I'm going to get you a trombone. And so we got me a trombone, started on that, and did okay, did kind of like the touring thing that you did with choir. We did a bunch of different competitions. If you guys, anybody here is local, kind of local to where we're at, we had a big competition there in Sandy Lake. And that was kind of like the big thing.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, little side note on that, I actually know a guy that is part of the family that owned Sandy Lake. Do you know anything about that place? Sandy Lake?
I mean, I've heard of Sandy Lake, but I didn't know that yet.
Yeah, lots of. So when I lived in Abilene, we actually drove all the way to here to do a competition in Sandy Lake for band.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know why. I don't know why. Apparently, it was like the next step. We're doing really good. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll just remember like we drove a really long ways, and we ended up getting to. We took a tour bus, or what was that called? Yeah, tour, like a big commercial bus, and drove it from Abilene to Grapevine, Texas. And we went to Grapevine Mills and went to Rainforest Cafe as a kid. That was like, whoa, gee whiz.
Yeah.
That was a big impact on me, just being able to do that adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, living life in Flower Mound was cool. Ended up making some friends, found a new church, and got really into the youth group at this church. And my youth pastor used to kid me all the time. I think he was partly serious. So he's like, do we need to make a cot for you, like, so you could hang out here a little bit longer, or just, you want to like go home sometime? And sometimes I think he wasn't joking, which is totally fine. It was probably very annoying having a kid there, anyway.
Oh, man.
I definitely wasn't the only kid, and I definitely wasn't the most annoying. But I definitely felt like that place was a good home for me. And I definitely went there to be in the presence of Jesus and fellowship with other Christians that were my age. And there were some teachers there. There were some adults that were, parents of the kids that, went there that would be doing Sunday school. And then they would have like a youth group on Sunday nights, and then they'd have youth group on Wednesday nights. And I think eventually they ended up doing like a Saturday, youth thing. And what it really did was, it was like a hub for all these young kids that really had nothing better to do. So they're either going to be getting in trouble or they're going to be at the church. And a lot of parents were, in favor of them, like, going to the church, go play some music, go play some. They had this. Our church ended up doing this expansion on our whatever wing of the church, and just for the youth group, or for the youth program, I guess. And they put in all new giant rooms and stuff, and they would put in like Game Cubes and Xboxes and things, different console video games. And just for kids to go and have a place to play together that was in the environment of the church.
Yeah. Structured environment that we knew that it was a safe place. But
yeah,
it's geared towards things that are of the youth, so they can have a good time. Yeah.
Things that would attract kids,
for sure.
And put them in a good environment. And there are still plenty of things that were not good that happened, that people were involved with and stuff like that. But really, that's what life is. People are messy. People's lives are messy. People are real. They go through real things. They have trouble. They have they make bad decisions. That's just anybody in life. So anyways, I got into music there. I finally got an opportunity to play the drum set and I played the drum set for this. There were so many youth at one point going to this church that we had to like have multiple groups of people that were kind of like bands, you know, different worship teams. So it wouldn't always have to be the same people up there doing the worship stuff. So
spread that Jesus love.
Yeah.
Everybody else get a little something.
Yeah, let everybody, you know, let everybody that wanted to, you know, make music could make it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I get up there and I'm playing the drum set. And I was okay, you know, but I didn't really get to practice very much. And I didn't have a drum set at home or anything like that. So I would hang out at the church as much as I possibly could to practice on these drums. And we ended up, me and this group of people ended up really kind of doing a good job. And we did such a good job that the church decided to funnel a bunch of more money into the youth program. And so they bought musical instruments like more drum sets and guitars and, you know, all the different electronics that make, you know, making music possible to play for, you know, a crowd of people. Anyway, so there ends up being like 3 different worship teams for the youth group. And me and a few of the others that were in this group ended up wanting to make music on our own. So we kind of came up with our own name. And we kind of distanced ourselves from the church. Like we were no longer like a church band. We were like a Christian rock band kind of. So we started going to play at other churches and going to play at other events. There were, believe it or not, there's like, you know, a big Christian rock scene, and they have different concerts where it's just kind of open to anybody. And back then it was, Christian rock was still cool. I don't know how to say that, but I feel like
Christian rock was still cool.
Yeah, it was still on the rise. There weren't,
right.
You know, if you know, you know, like Reliant K and DC Talk was putting out some, you know, good stuff in the late to early 90s. But there were, at the time, there was like, there were bands like 1,000 Foot Crutch, and there was bands like MXPX, and like ska was really in.
All right.
It's like reggae and rock mixed. It's weird. And then pop punk was really big.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we did so good at one particular battle of the bands that we won some recording time. And we ended up, this was when I was like 15 years old or so. I was maybe like a freshman in high school, I think. And we ended up recording an EP, like a really short first CD at DeBellum Studios. And it just so happened that we had gone there right after Ryan Cabrera had just recorded his first album. And he recorded his first album there. I had no idea who Ryan Cabrera was. Nobody did. Nobody did.
Probably didn't know. Yeah.
You know who that is?
Yeah. The name sounds very familiar. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Weird thing is, one of my best friends used to be really, really good friends. She now works for Disney and helps. She's like some kind of executive assistant for him in California. Interesting. By the way, if you ever get to this video, I hope you're doing well. And I actually reached out to her to ask her I was kind of vulnerable in a question about, like, you know, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to get into music and blah, blah, blah. And she ghosted me. I just want you to know there's no hard feelings. I totally get it. Anyway. Anyways, I was really into music. I was so into music and so lazy, maybe. I did really poorly in school. I wasn't dumb. I just didn't want to do the work. And I felt like I was just going to, go do music and be a rock star. I don't know.
Yeah.
I ended up exiting from that band. I did probably 2 years in a row. I did like summer school because I did so poorly in school. And my parents were like, if you keep doing poorly in school, we're not going to do music anymore. And so I found another band, ironically enough. I think it was my sophomore year of high school. Started a band doing Christian rock, like this was real rock. And it was called Empire Central. This was a really big deal to me, being in music. And I actually, so for the previous band I was talking about, I was actually singing and playing guitar. And this band, Empire Central, I was playing the drum set, and we were rocking. We were all very good at playing. The singer was pretty decent. We had a very unique sound. It was like the Christian version of Rage Against the Machine meets Chevelle, I guess.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, which we were all fans of those and many others. But anyway, many other different bands. But we ended up recording. We ended up doing a battle of the bands, and we made it to the last, top few of the selection, and then we ended up winning it. And we got to record at some place in Plano, a really nice recording studio, and made a CD and didn't go anywhere else with it. The band broke up. Something really gross happened in the band, and I won't talk about it just out of respect for the people that were involved. That's all we got to say about that.
That's all we got to say.
Yeah, the band broke up, needless to say, and that was like the end of my try to do music thing.
Yeah.
And so up until this point, I had a few jobs. I actually started working when I was 15. I was a camp counselor before I could get paid at YMCA. And then I found another job that I could do where I got paid in cheesecake because I couldn't get paid in dollars.
Okay.
So that was one. And then I got a job at IHOP. And that was like my working journey started there. I worked there when I wasn't in high school. And then I got a job for EMBCC, Emergency Medical Billing and Coding Company. When I think I was a junior in high school, I had they had something where you could leave school early so that you could go to your job. I forget what that's called. Yeah. It wasn't called senior out. It's called something else.
No, I know something.
Matter of fact, we had a Business Professionals of America club in our school, and the teacher that would, I think she taught keyboarding. She was like, "Hey, we have this club. You should join it." And it was something about you had to be a part of the club to do the work thing. Leave school early for work, and I joined it, and then I ended up being the president of it, Business Professionals of America.
All right.
So I think that was my junior and senior year. That's what I did, and I worked for this company, EMBCC, and I met. So a lot of the things that we talk about are coming from different racial perspectives. My boss there at EMBCC was black. Her name was Letria Williams, I think, and she, I'd really never had, and also I had some other people that I worked with there in the records department, Dee and Alex, Deanthus and Alex. And I had really never been around that many black people. Growing up in all the different places that I had been, I really didn't. I didn't see that many black people, honestly. Yeah. Most people that I saw, they were Hispanic or Asian or white. And working in Dallas at EMBCC gave me kind of an idea of what it was like to be around black people in general. And I'd always wanted to know, but then I got to actually find out. Anyway, so it changed my, not changed, but just kind of like confirmed things for me that like, these guys look different than me, but that's it. They might have a little bit of different culture sometimes or something like that, or, they grew up differently than I did or whatever, but they're just people like me and my family and whatever. Anyway, so there's that. And then I graduated high school in 2005, barely graduated. I was, like I said, I was a slacker. I was a procrastinator. I didn't like doing homework and I didn't want to put in the effort. And later on in life, I figured out my why or my reason to, give things some effort and all that. Yeah, that's about 2005. Where do you want to go from there?
Yeah. So my 2005. So I put where I was at Verizon, and so that's just my early 20s. I'm gonna keep this tight.
What about 2 hours?
I'm gonna keep this tight. We got to keep this. I'm gonna keep this tight. So we'll go with Verizon, and just working my way with Verizon, and I'm there for about 5 years, and I want to. I'm thinking about going back to school to do something. Not sure what I want to do, and then I figure out what it is that I want to do, which I'm not going to talk about because that's something that we'll talk about at another time. But I figure out that I want to go to school for a certain profession. I look into it. And so I'm a full-time student, full-time employee. I'm going to school from 7 in the morning to noon, going to Verizon from 1 to 9 every day. And so we're doing what we got to do, man. Just making sure that we work hard and reach that goal of, getting out of that school. It was tough, man. It was a hard school. That program was tough because they condense everything that you can do in a 4-year time. They do it in 2 years, and it's a lot of science. And 7-8 tests a week was nothing. That was just the norm. So it was tough. Yeah, it was really, really tough, but we made it through. And I stayed at Verizon for a little while after I graduated, just to try to figure out how to balance what direction I was going to go. I had to do some board exams. I had to get licensed. So once I got all that under my belt, then I decided to leave Verizon and focus full time on my career. I took a pretty big pay cut because I was still listed as an apprentice until I finished out my apprenticeship. So that's when I took out a lot of that money in that 401k and was just spending crazy. But once I got full time, I was able to work, and it was, I'm in my early 20s, and I'm doing a profession where it's a lot of older people that are in the profession, and also this profession is a profession where people who may have a different outlook on life, or people who some individuals may deem different. This is a place where they come and they can be themselves, and they can be in this space because this is a different type of profession and they're a different type of people. And so I'm working with just a huge, just melting pot of just some of the more unique people in this world. Unique. Very, very unique individuals who I work with, but I have a huge respect.
His profession requires a very specific ability, and we're just going to give you that. Sorry, go ahead. Like, it's very, very specifically designated type of mind
Oh boy.
to be able to handle what this guy does. Go ahead.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Every day is a unique challenge, and
I couldn't do it.
Love it. You could.
No.
You could.
Nope.
But it would just. So working in the profession that I love, it's great. But in 2012, as I'm in our profession and meet someone, I'm dating someone, and we welcome my first child, a beautiful son who is an amazing individual, and trying to, be a decent dad and, put a foundation for, your career path was just tough, man. But, we were juggling it and we were making it work. I'll just say there was a lot of depression and just a lot of tough times that I went through mentally trying to overcome some things. As I said, from a child relationship wise as well, and then welcoming my second child, my daughter, and then that's when I had a few suicidal thoughts that were really, really tough, man. There's some things that happened over the years that just really put me in a very, very, very bad place. And I'm very grateful that I did not go through with those things. And I'm thankful that the people who interjected themselves without even knowing that they were interjecting themselves, that was just a higher power, God, working through those individuals to make sure that I didn't do something that was going to cause so much chaos, confusion, and just bring so much bad to so many people. I'm thankful for those people. They know who they are, and I just want them to know that I'm very, very grateful for them. But just being in this place and in this space where I am now, I like to champion people. And growing up, it was a bad thing. It was looked upon as you were weak if you praised other people. I can remember when we would be on the playground and somebody would catch a pass, and I'd be like, oh man, that's a great pass you caught. There'd be people who would be like, why you D-riding this dude? Or why you talking like this? Like, why you sounding like a SSY? Like, why you doing like, and it was like, wow, I'm just trying to congratulate this person. I can't even congratulate them. I'm weak for congratulating this person. But that was the world that we lived in. And for me now, I try to go out of my way to make sure, especially the people who I care about, who I love, I champion them and I let them know that I see the good, and I want to let them know how what they're doing is great. Something that, I don't know if you've ever noticed this or if you see this, but something that irks me is when, let's say at an event or a birthday party, if let's say if I stood up, I'm just using me as an example, and I say, hey, Susan, you know what I mean, and you know how I feel about you, so I'm not going to say nothing. So you know how I feel about you, and that's all. And it's like, what does that even mean? I don't understand why people come and stand and say, oh, you know it. So it's like you're making me take the onus of having to know what it is that you mean, whereas you may just be uncomfortable at this moment speaking in front of people, but tell people, hey, I'm not great at public speaking. I'm having a tough time right now, but I just wanted to stand up and tell you that I think that you're great. And that's all I can say right now without either my emotions getting the best of me, without me getting nervous, but I want you to know that you're great. Say something, but that whole onus of like, hey, like you should know this or you should know that, we got to stop doing that. I'm sorry I went on that tangent, but I just like to now congratulate people, give people, they say give them their flowers. I say I want to give you some good words. Let me give you these good words. Let me pour into you and just try to be positive from all of those things that I've gone through in life. those tough times, those hard times. Just trying to be positive. So in this time of my life with my children, I'm teaching them to just lead with love. That's where I am right now. Let's lead with kindness. Let's lead with love. Let's just, be good people. And are there going to be bad people on this earth? Absolutely. Are people going to treat me differently because of the color of my skin? Absolutely. I deal with it every day. I tell my son the same thing. People may treat you differently because of just the way you look, the way you wear your hair. That's going to happen. But you just continue to lead with love, continue to have that big heart that you have, and things are going to be fine. So just now into this place where I am, I'm staying out the way. I'm drinking my water with my tequila and just staying out of everybody's way, man. Just trying to be positive and that's just kind of where I am right now, man.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So guys, we're at about 2 hours or so, just over 2 hours. I'm gonna bring it in for us here real fast on my end. So basically, some of the really exciting stuff that I got to do was I graduated high school. Got my first job that I was super excited to get was at Starbucks.
Oh, yeah.
I had the year, so this was like the summer after I graduated high school. I was finally 18. You had to be 18 at the time to work at Starbucks. It was a huge privilege, and they paid a lot more than a lot of other jobs did right off the bat. Mm-hmm. And I love coffee, still do. And I loved music and, I hate to say this, but I loved smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee and having a good conversation. And that's what I did up at Starbucks.
Yeah.
And my parents did not know that I smoked cigarettes. But that's about as bad as it got. That seemed really bad at the time. I was so embarrassed about it and scared of them finding out.
Hey, man.
But yeah, that was my cross to bear. Anyway, got that job, and I ended up working for Starbucks for a really long time.
You did, man. You really did.
And worked for a bank, worked for a dealership, worked for different places. Went back to Starbucks, and then found a job at Verizon Wireless, which is where we ended up meeting. Hopefully we can say that. I don't know why that would be weird. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so we we didn't sell cell phones. We fixed people's phones. We helped them with their problems, with their bills and stuff like that. That was back when cell phone carriers cared. And Verizon Wireless was the best. They didn't have the iPhone for a really long time.
Yeah.
But they were definitely the best in coverage. So, anyways, so I ended up working for Verizon Wireless for quite a while. I ended up going from being a technician, customer service guy to a sales guy, and that was actually what started that's what started my sales journey. The career path of sales in general, but kind of technology sales and stuff like that, technology solutions, and then eventually into IT. So I met my wife when I was working with Ray. Met her through one of my best friends who, this is going to sound crazy, but so one of my best friends at the time, and she still is. Judah, you still are. Judah is from South Africa. Her family's from South Africa. And I knew her from working at Starbucks and became really good friends with her and her family and her friends and stuff like that. And anyways, just a quick tidbit about how I met my wife. So my best friend Judah and I were hanging out a lot. She ended up dating one of my best friends at the time. And so she had just kind of gone through a pretty hard breakup with this guy. And I had just gone through a hard breakup, and so we decided not to date anybody for a year and just hang out with each other, do really fun things, and kind of fill that void for each other and not be stuck on, a dude or a girl or whatever. And we did all kinds of fun things. And for this whole year, she was telling me about this girl that would have been perfect for me. And I could have swore at first she was talking about herself, but she wasn't. And she was talking to me about this girl named Amanda. And she wouldn't tell me her name, but she would, every once in a while, she'd be like, "Hey, you know what? You would really like this about this girl. Trust me, she's perfect for you. She's just not quite ready for you." Little did I know, she was dating somebody else at the time, and she was dating definitely the wrong dude, which is okay. Everybody, goes through relationships that don't work,
Oh yeah.
Theirs just happened to really not work. But so one day Judah is having a going away party for one of our friends, Danny. She's about to move to a different state, and in walks this girl that I was just like, "Oh my gosh, who is that? Who is that? I don't know that one." And gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, and she comes in and sits at the table, and funnily enough, so we've got a bunch of mutual friends sitting at this dinner table at my friends at Judah's mom's house, and she, a dude there had just taken this new girl out on a date. I didn't know this. I knew this guy pretty well, and he didn't tell me anything about this girl, and so I turned to Judah at some point in the night, and I was like, "Hey, is this the one you've been telling me about?" And she's like, "Yep." And I was like, "Holy crap!" Mm-hmm. So that's the night that I met my wife, and I absolutely fell head over heels for her. Mm. Anyways, so I think I met her in 2000, the winter of 2008, and we got married in 2009. Something like that. It was pretty quick.
Now I like you, and I want you.
Yeah.
Now we can do this the easy way
or the hard way.
Or the hard way.
Yeah, it was definitely, it was real easy for us, for sure.
That's great.
So we got married in 2009, had our first child in 2011, my daughter and oldest daughter, and then kept working on the career, went through a few different jobs, went through a bunch of, hard. You know what? Life throws you all different kinds of curveballs, and in the essence of time, I'll just say depression hit me pretty hard as well. I gained a bunch of weight. And that was part of the depression too. It just kind of snowballs, So I gained a bunch of weight, ended up, pushing family aside, pushing away my wife. I was really hard to, what would you say? It was hard to get me excited to do anything unless I was like really ramped up on coffee or, I was in a really bad mood unless I was smoking cigarettes or something, and so, or drinking, and then a few things happened in life that, I was let go from a couple of jobs, and that was the first time I'd really been let go, or fired. And it really kind of plummeted my self-confidence. I was literally like afraid to apply for jobs because I was so afraid of rejection all of a sudden, even though I'd been in sales and heard no, like every day, all day long, I was just, I was getting a bunch of no's, sending out resumes and stuff. Anyway, so I went through that. I decided to, at one point, become my own boss and became a realtor. Started school for that. Definitely didn't think I would pass any of the tests or stuff like that. Turns out I did, and I became a full-fledged real estate agent, and then became a realtor, and then, started I moved around a little bit, trying to figure out what team I wanted to work on. Ended up getting in a partnership with one of my good buddies, Tom or Tater. Started a team with him, and he was a broker, and I was his partner. Doing a lot of the leg work with clients, and then out of being a realtor, I ended up marketing one of my properties that I had for sale with a drone, taking drone video, taking aerial video, and then that just caught like a wildfire, and I had all kinds of people, knocking my door down trying to get me to make videos for them. And so that kind of became its own business.
Yeah.
And it turns out that's what my family lived off of for a good little bit after real estate didn't pan out, at the end of 1 year.
Yeah.
So, and then my wife ended up going back to work and, worked for all different kinds of, she went back to work doing hair. She's a hairstylist, licensed cosmetologist. And that kind of thing. And so through the years, now I'm actually working for a company, a very small company that is family owned, and we are building this business kind of from the ground up. And I've been there for 4 years, and it's a little store out in the middle of nowhere, and that's kind of what makes it cool. And we do in-house made food. We have a little cafe, and we have convenience items, and we're just growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's exciting to see growth there, and exciting and scary and stressful and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, like I said, I worked this weekend, so I'm very tired. But very excited to kind of tell you guys, where we're getting to now, which is like where our perspectives are coming from, what kind of formed the way that we think through things and stuff like that. So that's where I'll end it for me.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, man, I think that's good. Like, I think I got a lot out today, man. I was able to share a lot, give some perspective, some things that I was listening to you talk about just in the beginning that just, started some wheels turning in my head.
Ooh.
And, I think we gave the people, a lot of us today, man.
Yeah.
And I thank you for, sharing.
Thank you.
As much as you shared. And I'm glad that we both had our grandfathers in our lives the way that we did. It's crazy how the similarities of just how important and instrumental those two gentlemen were to our lives, because they gave us both a foundation that we still stand on to this day, man. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, but no, man, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And guys, that kind of concludes our episode 3. We're going to start getting into topics here in the next episode. So I'm not 100% sure. I don't think we're going to tell you guys what the next topic is yet. We're going to keep you in the tantalized mode here, trying to figure out our next move here.
It's going to be juicy, though.
It's going to be real juicy.
Okay.
So we're not like here reinventing the wheel. Just kind of bringing it back in to why we're doing this. Ray and I were having personal conversations between each other, talking about, hey, how do you think about this? What has been your experience here in life and stuff like that. And then we were like, we both came to the idea of like, this needs to be a public conversation. We need to put this out into the public. Not necessarily like everybody having a word in. It's just, a conversation between me and Ray.
Two friends having a genuine conversation.
Yeah. No color, thick skin.
No color, thick skin. That's it.
Well, thank you guys so much. Please like and subscribe. Wherever you are watching, there's probably a like button, like a heart or a thumbs up or something like that. Please hit subscribe or follow or whatever. also there is a little bell icon. I need you guys to go and hit that bell icon so that I don't have to come and knock your door down saying, "Hey guys, there's another episode." Your app will do it for you.
It lets you know.
Yeah, and you'll just know as soon as stuff is posted. So, thank you guys so much again. We really appreciate you guys taking part in this. Leave a comment. Let us know what you guys think. If you identify with either of our upbringings and stuff like that, things that made a big impact in your lives, tell us about it. Send us a message. Leave a comment. Whatever you guys want to do there, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much, Ray.
Peace.
Bye, y'all.